Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking some absolutely wild insider insights. We're completely breaking down OpenAI's newest releases, specifically the GPT 5.6 family, so you can figure out how to leverage these tools and legitimately become a 100x engineer. If you've been feeling even slightly overwhelmed by the sheer pace of AI updates lately, don't worry, we've got you. We're going to structure this perfectly so it all makes sense.
Look, OpenAI insider Wolfie Bain hit the nail on the head recently when he called the new GPT 5.6 family a massive step forward. And he is totally right, because we're witnessing a fundamental shift here. We're finally moving away from AI just being a simple prompt box, where you ask a question and get a text block back, into a highly dynamic, autonomous workspace. It essentially acts as a tireless coworker.
So, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the new toolbox. Second, we're going to compare the new Sol, Terra, and Luna models. Third, we'll get into mastering real-life loop engineering. And finally, we'll break down the actual ROI of automation.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the new toolbox, specifically looking at work mode versus codex mode. What's really fascinating here is how OpenAI has elegantly unified its most powerful capabilities into two distinct modes. Work mode is basically your absolute go-to for knowledge tasks. Think building out slide decks, analyzing massive spreadsheets, or doing deep dive research. On the flip side, Codex mode is the developer's ultimate sandbox. It is custom built for deep technical building, writing software and fixing those complex bugs to drive you crazy. But the real beauty of it, they both live under one unified roof, sharing the exact same powerful AI harness.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, the real stars of the show. Sol, Terra, and Luna.
The absolute crucial point here is understanding the spectrum of intelligence framework. The best way to think about it is exactly like shifting gears in a car, depending on the terrain you're driving on. You wouldn't use a massive gas-guzzling engine just to back out of your driveway, right? Sol is your frontier model. It is brilliant for heavy lifting, but it's a bit slower and costlier. Terra is the perfectly balanced middle ground for your everyday tasks. And Luna? Luna is your incredibly snappy, highly optimized model for quick, low-reasoning automations.
And this is super telling. When Wolfie Bain was asked which model he would solely use for the next 30 days, if he was forced to pick just one, he picked Terra. This basically cements Terra as the absolute optimal Goldilocks choice. It drives down the unit cost of intelligence while keeping the quality incredibly high. It's just the perfect balance of speed, cost, and raw brainpower.
But here's where it gets crazy. In the real world, you aren't just firing up a single Terra or Luna model in isolation anymore. Nope. Instead, your main agent acts as a manager. You can spin up 10 to 12 parallel subagents to research the web, generate UI images, and write code, all at the exact same time. It is literally like having an entire mini-company working on your screen in perfect unison.
Which perfectly sets up Section 3, how do we actually apply these gears? Let's talk about real-life loop engineering.
I'll just say it, prompt engineering is kinda last year. The future is loop engineering. This means giving your AI a specific, persistent goal and letting it validate its own work. Instead of the AI doing one step, stopping and asking you, hey, what should I do next? It just keeps looping. It assesses, it refines, and it keeps pushing until that ultimate goal is totally achieved.
So let's break down the exact steps in practice. First, you set a goal. Now, this could be numeric, like hitting a certain training loss on a neural network, or it could be subjective, like making a website perfectly match a specific UI screenshot. Second, the agent runs parallel tasks in its own sandbox. Third, it relentlessly tests its results against your goal. And finally, step 4, the agent only rests when it succeeds. You can literally walk away from your computer and go get coffee while this whole process happens.
To give you a sense of the sheer heavy-lifting power of the Sol model, let's look at a real example. One user set a goal to build an app that ingests and sorts Instagram direct messages. The AI worked completely autonomously for 16 hours straight while the user slept. It looped, it tested, and it coded all night long.
And here is the kicker. During those 16 hours, when the AI hit a hard API roadblock from Meta, it didn't just throw an error code and give up. It autonomously spun up a headless Chrome browser to physically click around Instagram and solve the problem using a graphical user interface, exactly like a human would. It quite literally built its own workaround. Absolutely wild.
So mapping this to your actual day-to-day workflow is pretty straightforward. You want to use the high-effort Sol model for those massive 16-hour overnight tasks, like training complex graph neural networks or building full applications from scratch. But if you just need a quick voice chat, a really snappy UI bug fix, or a simple automated browser action, you drop down to the low-effort Luna model. It saves you serious time, and honestly, it saves you a ton of compute.
Let's bring it down to a universally miserable task: filing expense reports. Using a new skill called Record and Replay, you can physically show a Terra agent how to navigate your screen. You open your Navan app, you check your receipts, and you hit Submit. The agent watches you, learns the visual cues, and then loops that exact action weekly. Just like that, those boring Friday afternoon expense reports are completely automated off your plate.
All right, let's wrap this up with Section 4 by talking about the actual ROI of automation and what it means to be a 100x engineer.
$1 million. That is the staggering amount of compute tokens that creator and engineer Peter Steinberger consumed in a single month. How is that even possible? By acting as a manager and running dozens upon dozens of AI agents simultaneously across multiple terminal windows. He wasn't doing the manual typing anymore. He was purely orchestrating the intelligence.
This perfectly captures the evolution from the 10x engineer, the person who just types code really, really fast, to the 100x engineer. This new type of engineer is essentially a holistic context manager. They hold the overarching vision, the goals, and the problem statements in their head, and they simply delegate massive workloads out to hundreds of tireless AI subagents.
Look, the unit cost of intelligence is absolutely plummeting right now, while the capabilities of models like Sol, Terra, and Luna are just skyrocketing. And that leaves us with one final, pretty incredible thought to chew on. If an AI can safely and autonomously work for you for 16 hours while you sleep, what repetitive task are you going to delegate to it tomorrow? Thanks for tuning into this explainer. I highly encourage you all to get out there and start tinkering.